2005, a man called John Maxwell, made that famous statement, everything rises and falls on leadership. Forgot the title of that book at the time. And it would seem like that truth is not only right now, it's been right since way before he made that statement as well. Let's have conversations around that and the impact of leadership on our current realities in Nigeria this morning with Yemi Davids, who is a clergyman, as well as President, Global Impact Institute. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
God bless you. Good to have you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You are a good leadership advocate. What drew you into it?
Wow, it was far back. I'm glad to good to be here and talk about leadership. And, when I look at our nation today, I think it's a big leadership crisis. And it pains me. My experience started from my university days when we was to start a church in Lagos. I remember I had inspiration to build leaders, because leaders make decisions that have impact on the led. In fact, parents make decisions that impact on the children. So it's not about the nation, it's a lot about the leadership, because when leaders make decisions, it's your decision. Now, if those decisions are good, it pays you. But if it's bad, you pay for it. So I realized that leadership is either a blessing or a curse.
One of the things that I understand about leadership, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's supposed to be subsistent and sustaining. It's supposed to sustain a system.
Yeah.
Once the engine is running, the vehicle should be able to move.
Yeah.
But no matter how complex the engine is, it has a lead, and it has a body, and it has a tail. That's my understanding, the general composition. It's pretty much talking about the human body.
Yeah.
Once the head is right and the brain is functional,
Yes.
everything else moves accordingly.
Yes.
When we have a problem somewhere in the brain, certain limbs don't move and all of that. Use that as a metaphor for what is going on in Nigeria today and for how long it has been on.
It's happening. Big concern, especially for the future, because it looks like it's not getting better. And when I look at our young people also, I get a bit agitated, because the present leadership complained about the previous leadership. The previous leadership complained about the previous leadership. So it looks like, okay, when you complain about something, are you really prepared when it's your turn? Are you really getting ready? Because something breaks one day, and then you have an opportunity to lead. Maybe we'll call it to serve. Are you really ready to serve? If people understand how critical leadership is, then there'll be some bit of understanding, believe me, on the pressures on the people that lead. And then you also realize that this thing will affect a lot of people. You are either a blessing to them or a curse. The kind of head that is making decisions on our behalf, matters to us. If the head is not correct, we can't be correct. So we have leadership deficiency, and I am advocating more leadership development, even from the primary school, because it's easier to just be complaining. The question is, when you get there tomorrow, are you really going to do better?
Which leads me to this next question.
Yeah.
The people who are in government today were not in government 30 years ago.
Yes.
They were not in government 40 years ago. In fact, everyone in civil service today
30 years ago
was not in government, was not in civil service 40 years ago.
Yes.
I can say that because we have such laws.
Yes,
you are either lower, 65 and lower, or you are 35 years in service. To whichever comes first, you get out of the service. So 35 years ago, the people who are running government today, civil service today, the engine of government today were not there yesterday. So that speaks to whether or not we have a system of developing leaders, doesn't it?
Yes.
Do we have such a system?
I mean, let's divert a bit. Today is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you. And today we express love. I think it's the family system. It starts from the family system. Everyone comes from a family. You are from a family, I'm from a family. The CEO is from a family. the kidnapper is from a family, the president's from a family. So the moment there's a dysfunction out there, it's going to show up 10, 20, 30 years to come. There are certain virtues I have now, and I'm grateful that my father and mom instilled that in me growing up. Not really in the formal setting. It was at home. So maybe today we want to look at our family systems, because the child today is the CEO tomorrow. Your daughter today is somebody's wife tomorrow. Your son today is somebody's husband tomorrow. So the question is, how are you raising that kid? And that's where I think we missed it. It's a major place. If you miss it there, it's a whole lot for that person to be a blessing in the future. I'm just thinking we should be aware of that.
Well, it is something significant. But let's ram it closer in.
Okay.
One of the issues being discussed in Nigeria today is the issue of a signature forgery, the allegation of a signature forgery against the former CBN governor.
Yeah, I saw that.
To the tune of $6.2 million.
Observers.
Is that, on the one hand, we can blame his parents. I mean, I'm just saying.
I get
if such a thing were to be proven indeed, on the other hand, we can say, okay, there's a family, whatever there. But then, he is also, such an individual will also be a father. And they are all over the nation, all kinds of allegations against commissioners, chairman of local governments, governors, and all of those things. So don't they have children that they want to model for?
I'm not sure that's their priority. Who modeled for them? Your values were shaped growing up. And if it is twisted already, then it just gets worse and worse and worse. The kind of leadership we've had, I mean, since I came to, that understanding of leadership is very poor in Nigeria. It's extremely poor. And it's a big crisis. And you can't have good systems without the right people running the system. It's a human being that will run this. I mean, if you have like a tractor now, a tractor will not really drive itself. Somebody has to drive the tractor. So the kind of people leading the systems matter to us. So if you look at it critically, this issue of forgery is leadership failure. If you look at it very well, somebody appointed somebody, right? Because who appointed somebody, and then what kind of person did you appoint? How do you follow through with things? If you, in Yoruba land, they say if the cat is not at home, the rodents will have a field day, you understand? So it looks like if you're like an absentee leader, you are not following through things, you leave those gaps open for anything to happen. Believe me, people can misbehave, but sometimes you can reduce that space if you are a competent leader, a leader that's aware. We're not looking for perfect leaders. We're looking for people that are growing, getting better. So when I looked at the forgery case, I said, well, while you blame the persons involved, there was a leadership gap, massive leadership gap that gives you the audacity to even do that. That's the way you're so sure that I can get away with this thing. Nothing much will happen. And maybe, I stand to be corrected, it can be the first one. Before you get to $6.2 million, maybe you have done $200,000. Maybe you have done $2 million and nothing happened. Then you feel, we can get away with this. So it's a leadership crisis, and we have to be aware of that. And I said in one forum that it's better to light a candle than cause the darkness. I would encourage people to really invest in leadership development, even churches, for instance. I grew up with Bible schools, in churches where we raise clergy, pastors, reverends, and we have loads. In fact, maybe so much. Maybe we should now invest more in leadership development. Maybe that will help resolve the leadership crisis we have to emerge. Yeah.
Well, even though, the cat and mouse example you gave, I think Tom and Jerry already put it to that word. But, well, the case of forgery against the gentleman is to be proven. And someone has already made a case, giving his own witness and all of that. So no one can adjudicate on that one. Now, talking about leadership development, it's a question that we have raised on this program so many times. Now, we have this crisis on our hands now.
Yes.
How do we develop for the next 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years?
Yes.
Here is why I'm asking.
Yes.
The Generation Z is not interested in government. They are hardly interested in anything leadership. They just want to have fun.
Yeah,
The alpha generation that is coming behind, oh gosh, I saw a video about 11 minutes that say they don't even want to interact with human beings so long as they have their addictive tabs. So clearly what you're saying is we have our jobs cut out for us.
Yeah.
How do we take it on?
Well, I think I will speak from my own sphere of influence. I'm a pastor, predominantly, and I think pastors have an awesome opportunity in developing the nation because we speak to thousands of people every week. Some midweek, most of the time on Sunday. I'm not sure the president has the capacity for that in that sense. Like every week you can influence people. So I think in the diet, what we serve people in terms of teachings or preachings, and in the junior church, for the children, that has to be in the curricula, where you talk about the effect of leadership, what leadership means, to you as you grow up, parent, leading a business. If you want to do business, you want to do entertainment, whatever you're going to do, that it's either you're a blessing to people or you're a curse to them. If that awareness is there from like the junior church, and then in the things that we preach on Sundays, you are, whatever the topic, you are still like injecting that into it. I think that education, consistent education, will serve to begin that, robust conversation and the reality that, okay. And, there's some things that you just imbibe over the years. And after a while, you realize that you exude it. It begins to show. Because if you're going to be waiting to help to turn somebody else around, turn your own your sphere of influence around first. Influence your own space as much as you can.
How do we get them interested, Pastor David? That's the problem. How do we get them to be interested? I say to young adults as well that look, generally you are not interested in school, but you have to go anyway because you know that there are consequences. How do we get them interested? What's the
catch?
Bait? Yes, what's the catch?
Development. Everybody loves development. You can't tell me whether you are Muslim, atheist, or Christian. Everybody wants development. No matter how beautiful your car is.
I'm talking about the young ones.
Yes. Now, wouldn't you ride on the road? You drive on the road. Don't you want to be safe? It's the education. I mean, it's staring us in the face. The insecurity, you see it. I mean, no matter how great you are, an artist, for instance, you can't travel by road to some places. You know that. So that we need to bring it from that perspective. Like, come, this is about your age, your tribe, or your faith. It's about a common good. Everybody loves good education, healthcare, security. So if you really want that, then you must be interested in leadership development. You must be interested in change. It affects you.
But changing culture is a tall one.
That's why I love what you said about 10, 20 years. The challenge we also have is we have an impatient generation, kind of. Just like people just think things will just change one election. No, there has to be a 20.
But you don't blame people for that. I'm pretty sure you understand that. People who have been through these things for so many decades, and you are asking them to be patient. Meanwhile, you are living large.
You teach them to be aware. Who's living large?
Come on, these people, these young people.
Okay, I get it. I think it's still the education. Like I said in church one day, I saw somebody on Instagram brandishing some beautiful vehicles. Can you just take a moment and ask yourself, how did you get the vehicle? It's still education. If you educate someone, something that seems to be a pleasure to you, now you look at it differently. Okay, somebody is showcasing a powerful Rolls Royce, you understand? It's a good car. But have you ever asked yourself, what does it do for a living? Before you just like and start liking and say, I want this, can you just ask yourself, what does this guy do for a living? Maybe when you begin to do such, at least mental research, you understand, it will affect the way you view what you call as living large. So you can begin to differentiate between, okay, what we call true success and maybe fake success. So when that education is there, I think it helps to put things in proper perspective. Yeah.
Now, the route through which people get into leadership positions,
Yeah.
public leadership positions in Nigeria, is democracy.
Yeah.
And the kind of democracy we practice is multi-party. So you have to belong to a political party.
I think so.
You have to belong to a political party to even want to take any position and all of that. The way things are now, a number of people have talked about political education, political communication, and all of those things. How do we market that to this
new
generation you call the impatient generation, who just want to get going?
Yeah, I think it starts with the reality of things on ground. As I said earlier, that this is what is staring us in the face. It affects the infant or the aged. Okay, so we need new leadership. And the only way you can make a difference, positive difference, is through electioneering process or getting involved. And then this is the platform you have to use. I mean, we had a bit of encouragement the last election. Coincidentally, it was this time last year. You saw a bit of the shakings, and I love it. You know, just like, okay, people are more aware. I'm just a bit bothered that people are getting tired, because that was a good sign that, okay, I love this particular party. It looks like, it doesn't mean it's a perfect one, but it looks like what I want. You know, I just would love.
Or it just looks different.
Well, but it's part of the process. It's part of the change. You know, I just wish those parties, you know, can push on in terms of people registering for their, you know, with their party, you know, and then have a robust following, rather than everybody waiting till a year to election, and then the drum comes out, and then it becomes, you know. So I feel what happened last election, this time last year, was encouraging. Yeah, we had some crisis, but there was a flicker of, okay, something could be coming up here, but we need to push it more.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think my colleagues in Abuja would like to also ask you a question.
Okay, that's fine.
Go ahead, guys.
Thank you so much for speaking with us, Pastor Yemi Davids. I wanted to ask you about, you know, this leadership, this work around leadership that a number of churches have now taken on, this responsibility to mentor young people, to teach them that leadership indeed begins with them, and that they too are leaders in their own right. From your own, will I say, assessment of how this message is sinking in, would you really say that we're really making impact in this space?
Can you just, you know, thread back a bit? I didn't get the first part of your question.
Would you say that churches are really churches who have decided to take on leadership as one of the things that they want to impact on their followers, how much progress would you say that they have been able to make within their space?
Well, thank you so much. Not so encouraging yet. I mean, we have a ministers' conference coming up, you know, and I think those are the kind of conversations that we should have at such leaders' conferences, because you have to educate the leaders first, and then the leaders go forth into their various denominations or parishes and educate the people. It started, but it's not encouraging yet. And I think the distraction is the challenges we have in our nation today, because people are grappling with insecurity, all kinds of things, and leaders will want to see what they can do to help them out with that. You know, I think that's a big distraction for us as leaders, but I think we can do better. And I think, and if you're a pastor listening, you know, your leader listening, the opportunities we have every week should be at preparing people for the future. We have to prepare people. We should do better. I think the church can do better. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I'm glad that, you know, you make that admission, but let me quickly take you up on orientation and mindset and civic, civic duties that every citizen is also supposed to be aware of. We know that primarily that responsibility rests on the shoulder of government. But looking at, you know, the mass of our people, the illiteracy that is also pervasive in many places. Some people will say the fact that people go to school and know how to read and write does not necessarily mean that they're educated. When you look at some of the simple changes that we could make happen, that could come about, you know, with people just obeying rules, you know, behaving themselves in traffic, not throwing dirt on the ground, understanding the implications of certain things, Do you think that the religious bodies also bear a duty in helping to shape our orientation, our national orientation and values? I was going to ask another question on top of that, but let's go with that first.
Yeah, you're very correct. The church, we have a huge role to play in that regard. As I mentioned to Ayo earlier about our diet, like the kind of things we feed people with, there has to be some, should we call it reorientation from us first as leaders, which impacts on what we tell the people. We have a huge role to play in that regard. And I think a lot has to do also with educating the clergy itself, okay? Some leaders are not just aware that it's their duty to do that. I think like the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, the CAN, and other relevant bodies might need to make that a top priority. I do that. I mean, I feel if Jesus Christ says we are the light of the world, then it means you show the light, as simple as traffic rules and little things here and there. So, and for me, that's part of what we also need to help this country change. Instead of looking at, okay, the seat of government or the state government, yeah, we're expecting so much changes out there, but can you begin the change where you are? We need to tell our people that, where you are, you can't just be throwing some dirt on the floor. You can't just be peeing on the roadside. You can't just be breaking traffic rules and yet be complaining that the government is bad. The badness, I hope that's correct, starts from that. If you can do that, then one day you'll do something worse. So I agree with you. I think we should take that as a part of our responsibility. We are doing it, only that water pass Gary or Gary pass water. How do we say it?
Well, increasingly we see that churches are not shying away from politics. And some people will say that's how it should be. But would you say that they are becoming a little more organized in terms of how they take on, how they engage with the political space?
Oh, yes. I think it's far better now than it was before. I mean, from our own church, like the last election, there was a lot of, education, talk. The only challenge I think I have is when it seems that you are too partisan on the pulpit. And that's a problem for me. I feel you educate your people, you let them know we all need development, then let them make their choice. I don't think it's wise or smart for a leader as a clergy, because in the church, you have various people in terms of their interests, what they want. You can't foist your own things on them. So, but I think the main thing is education. Proper education, this is how you do it, this is what you do, this is what we need. Then I think as adults, mature adults, people are now left to make their own decision. Because the moment you tilt one way, you are going to be creating some problems that you don't need to create. So, but it's far better now. Yesteryears, we used to shy away from politics. Politics is bad, politics is this, is dirty. So now people know that we have to enter that mode, so to say, maybe to help clean it up a bit, yeah.
Do you think that, would you say that churches should also start organizing around political parties? Is this something that you would advocate? I know you've said that, there shouldn't be parties and that would not help, but do you think that they should encourage their members to actively become members of political parties?
Yes. Oh, yes. Members of the church can even form their own political parties. They can even, yes, that's fine. I really don't advocate when it now looks like, permit me to say, a Christian party. When we have elections, we're not trying to appoint a Sunday school teacher. No, we are looking for a leader, and it could be from any faith, believe me. Okay, so it's the orientation. In the church, yeah, we have a Sunday school teacher, we have a Bible study, that's fine. But when it comes, and it's still part of the education. So you want to have a Christian party, then what about the other people that are not Christians? How would they vote for that person? So I think it's the education. Yeah, they should participate in electioneering process, form political parties. But when you're forming political party, please do it with a sense of understanding that you are dealing with various people, ethnic orientation, religious biases, and then what can you do to lead them? You're not a Sunday school teacher. You are leading a nation, economic development, infrastructural development, which everybody will enjoy. So it's not really the time to be postulating I'm this, I'm that. It's time to just show that you're a proper leader for them. So I think that's education we should have. And I encourage that a lot. And I'm hoping I will do much more towards the next election. Yeah.
Well, it's a very interesting conversation that we're having there. So this is where we are now. Just to hope that everyone will be able to take all of the lessons that they need to take so that we can make the progress that we desire to take. We have to thank you very much this morning for being here. Pastor Yemi Davids, President, Global Impact Institute. He's a good leadership advocate as well as a clergyman. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.